good evening. It is day 43, which is the 19th of December. In we go and see what we can learn today. I haven't discovered all the different rooms in the catalogue yet. There's a few I haven't found yet. And there are a couple of found floor plans that I have identified that I have not seen yet. Amateur lockpick, gems, keys. Really need to increase that allowance somehow too. So things I need to do. I need to empty the reservoir. Let's go with the tool shed. I know that the trading post is a good avenue for upgrade discs, but I think we have other stuff we need to do first. 2 keys, 6 gems, 8 coins, and a magnifying glass, a lockpick, and a metal shifter. Not a terrible way to start a day. Setting the dining room to commonplace would be good at this stage. Hey Keith, that's okay. Do what you gotta do. Commissary, I think. Commissary. Now, what do we got? Sledgehammer. It'll take all my money, but probably a good call. Because I do want to get the power hammer at some point. No shovel. I have a plank. The extra key would be good. Oh, I've got a coin. Now, I found that I had, in fact, seen this before, but I don't know if I've seen it with a magnifying glass. All right. So it says, the Lord of the Rings musical was strange. Not what I would be thrilled to be seeing again next weekend, which we are. It was an interesting mix between live action and puppetry, and the puppetry was excellent. So they did things like the Nazgul were done as puppets like Chinese dragons are sometimes done. And the story of Deagle and Smeagol was done like an Indonesian shadow puppet. And the Balrog was done with sort of projection onto a surface that was being manipulated by actors. And Shelob was a massive, I think it was an animatronic rather than a puppet per se, but everything else was pretty much live action. Look, the staging was very good. The script needed help. Like, we knew that there was no way they could fit all of Lord of the Rings into 3 hours of a stage show. But some of the choices they made were interesting. Eligibility, the Dead End contest. Sweepstakes is open to legal residents of Ben Aries who are at least 12 years of age at time of entry, employees of the drafting strategy, its affiliates, subsidiaries, advertising and promotion agencies, and immediate family members and or those living in the same household of each other are not eligible to participate in the sweepstakes. To enter the sweepstakes, players must draft rooms in a single house during a single day. Any number of rooms may be drafted, but only dead-end rooms drafted during the day will be counted toward the dead-end tally. If the dead-end tally exceeds the current record, 19, participant is considered a winner. Cash prize has an approximate shop value equal to 200 gold paid out to the winner of the sweepstakes in a cheque equal to the prize amount. The trophy of sweepstakes has an approximate shop value of 30 gold. Please note, the trophy is not composed of real gold but features a gold-like coating for decorative purposes only. The winner will be notified and receive prize by mail no later than 5 days after obtaining the dead-end record. Check mailroom for prize delivery. Odds. The odds of winning this contest are not very promising. The architect who set this record was very, very good at drafting. Best of luck regardless. It's yeah, it was a show. Some of the things that didn't thrill me about it were some of the absurdities of it, and it's a bit hard to explain quite how absurd some aspects of it was. I mean, I quite liked that the orchestra was the players, as in the actors, but it did make for some choices that were suboptimal. We've done the safe in here, I believe. Safe in the drafting studio. Yes, 1108, I believe. No. Okay. Let's do 1219. Have you seen this letter before? I don't remember. Hello, baby doll. What you doing? This is going to be terrible to screenshot. Uncle, in a few hours we are departing. As planned, we're taking the old mountainway tunnels to the north. We'll go as far as we can by trolley until the rails give out. Then we'll proceed on foot until we reach the southern border. I've never been as excited, nervous and heartbroken. I may never know if I've made the right decisions, but I've made the ones I felt my father might have nodded in approval at. I'm leaving a message for Simon here in the safe house, this unhallowed cavern that we have called home for the last year. Something should happen to me. Please guide him to this place. Try and show him what these lost days were all for. We have seen this before. Explain to him, if you can, the intersection between foolishness and doctrine, the thin wire we stood upon above the world, holding hands and throwing stones, holding hands and throwing stones. In those days we were guilty of everything. As always, Mary. So this is today's pattern for the Great Hall. I'm not sure how that tells me which one is the room with the lever in it, though. Hello, kitten. But I can at least reduce the number of keys that I waste. So we avoid the middle. The one on the left of the doorway is the way out, and the two that are on the right of the end doorways are the ones that will give us stuff. Just looking to see if there's anything on any of these pages that show up under the magnifying glass. That's the greenhouse. That's the master bedroom, I think. No, that's the great hall. That's the gift shop. No, that's the bookshop. That's the chapel. Daya, media. Okay. So one's a hallway, one's a bedroom. Is that a different version of the classroom than we already have? Let's add the vestibule. Take care. I really want the foyer. So it's going to be a dead end either way. Let's go into the study. I can't remember what happens in the study other than that. Gives us queens. Key card, that doesn't hurt. Mind you, every time I've set the number of electronic doors to high, I've seen almost none of them. I feel like that is not actually how that command works. Have a look at this letter under the magnifier. The metal detector went off as I went through the doorway. Blocks off one door to the foundation, but not the only one. $37. Still need a shovel. Silver key. That won't hurt. Another couple of keys. Alright, going north from the drawing room. Let's grab the gem. Nothing else piquing my interest in here at the moment. I don't have enough gold to buy anything from in here yet, but who knows, maybe my day will go well. I'll be in the commissary. It's getting very much to the point that I need the workshop. Still need a shovel. Okay, we've got the secret garden key. Denoted in verse. I'm sorry. So if I take the foyer, foyer doors are always unlocked, which will be good going forward. But I don't have enough don't have enough gems. Don't have enough gems. Running out of coins, running out of keys. Not happy. All right. So I have to work out how to warm this room up, which will require the boiler room, I suspect, in order to read that letter. And there's a special key there. The secret garden key's in here as well, but it does mean I'll have it for tomorrow. There's a pawn. That would be the master key. Unlocks all normal doors. Moon pendant. While you're wearing the moon pendant, you will start tomorrow with 2 of the items in your inventory. That would have been nice. What I don't know is whether the showroom has the same items every time, or whether they vary. And I'm not sure if there's any clues in what I'm seeing in the cases. Like, is that symbol paired with purple? That symbol is paired with green. Is that symbol paired with white? I've got to solve that somewhere. Really didn't want the freezer. Commissary is of no use to me now. I still don't have a shovel. For all the good it would do me. This is going to be a short day today. Not productive at all. Though we added one new room to the pool. So this will be the one with the lever in it. Not that I can get to it. And all the gems in the world, if I'd gone here first, we'd have been golden. But we didn't. These are the choices you make. Alright. I looked at that before. So we had the code as 1108, but it was actually 0811. Alright. It's enforcing the US date format. Alright, baby. What you doing? You squeak. I don't think we have anywhere near enough rooms to do the chessboard. We had the solarium, which gets us a pawn. We had the security room that gets us a knight. We had the breakfast nook, which gets us a rook. We don't have a bishop. We do have a queen. We don't have a king. So we're missing two. Alright, so it's not worth doing the chess puzzle. So I think we call it a day on day 43. It's still early, so we'll give it another go. That is day 43. 19th of December. Prosaic Villa. Oops. Save and continue. Let's see what we find next. Hello, little headbutt girl. What you doing? It's day 44. We have allowance, but we do not have a box of deliveries. Head down. Yep. We'll collect our allowance. Ooh, 11. Let's see what the outside room today will be. You sure about that? Root cellar, trading post, shelter. Let's go with trading post. Because every time I take the root cellar, I don't get shovels. Just looking to see if there's anything in here I can pick up yet. Answer appears to be no. Alright. Back to the house we go, and we'll start our day. This really is a very barren looking front area. No pun intended. Alright, what have we got? We've got a store, a hallway, a den. Let's take the den for the gem. No chest that I can see. That's okay. Happy to take a dead end on this room. Or not. What do you reckon? Bedroom, kitchen, or laboratory? Let's go with the laboratory. Let's put an experiment in, given we're getting it early in the day. So what is this again? I need to see what that says. I don't have a magnifying glass today. Yet. We'll see if we get one later. Let's put an experiment in the machine. I haven't been very good at triggering experiments, mostly because I get them too late in the day. Hey, Chip. Magnifying glass. And I failed to do this drafting strategy that I was taught. All right, we want a corner room. Let's take the billiard room. Solve the billiard puzzle. All right. 0 plus 13 is 13. Let's put the instructions up on screen so now I can see what I'm doing. I'll move them into puzzles. Yes, I did. All right. 0 plus 20 is 20. Minus 18 is 2. Squared is 4. 1 squared is 1. Plus 4 is 5. Squared is 25. Minus 15 is 10. 20 minus 20 is 0, minus 3 is minus 3, times 3, this doesn't make sense, is 9, squared is 81, divided by 4 is 20.25. No, that's not right. Yeah. 20 minus 20 is 0. Minus 3 is minus 3. Times 3 is minus 9. Squared is 81. Ah, no, the purple is divided by. All right, let's do that again. 20 minus 20 is 0. Minus 3 is 3. Divided by 3 is minus 3. Is divided by 3 is minus 1. Squared is 1. Times 4 is 4. I cannot math today. Hey, Sandy. I had my symbols incorrect. Still need a shovel. No metal detector though. I need a pump room. They're all turning the wrong way. Let's go into the library, pick a book. Something on the floor nearby. Or on the oh, it's key on the table. I don't remember reading The Curse of Blackbridge, but I must have. Maybe not. I hadn't put it on my list of books. It happens after The History of Arinda. All right, we'll get that one next. Where does this door go? An apple. Oh no, it's a coin purse. That gives me coins faster, maybe. Oh, the commissary yet? No. Nowhere to spend money yet, but we'll sort that out shortly. All right, I need gems. If you replace the word one in the other two statements with both, they will both be false. So that one has to be false. Because if it's true, that's a lie. And the gems are in that box. And that's a lie. And both the other statements have to be false. So that one has to be a lie, meaning this one can be a truth or a lie. That can be a truth or a lie. And if that's a lie and that one is true, that one is also true. All right. Assuming this one is true, one of the other statements is false. One of these are true and one of them are a lie. No, we didn't get it. I don't know what the solution to that one was. All right. I need to re-review all those notes. So I have a broken lever, a metal detector, and a coin purse. Still need a shovel. Thank you. Which special key will it give me? The prison key. Wow. Fingers crossed it gives me some gems. Things are half price. I don't know if that's a direction I can send water in from the pump room. Guess we'll find out. No, it's not. Damn it. We're blocked for the day anyway, so let's see if we can work out the pump room. I need to get some excess water out of the system somehow. I don't think I can get power to that from the way we're set up today. Don't think that helps me, even though I'm in an adjacent room. I think the rotation is wrong. Yep, that's not powered up. Close, but no banana. Out of steps. All right, we'll call it a day. Oh, hang on. Where was the other letter I wanted to see? I'm not going to get back to it. Where was it? It was in the laboratory. Definitely not getting back to it. All right. One new room today, the vestibule. Captured that in my notes. The notes file is extensive at this point. It's getting to the point where it's hard to actually find things in my notes. I have chapters. Ooh. Have I drained enough water? Oh, that gold I've plinked in. Hello, baby. What you doing? Have I drained enough water to get the whole way down is the question. Or is there still water at the bottom? I need to drain just a little bit more water, but that looks like that's that passageway into the basement. So we're almost there, but not quite. Yes, what do you want, little one? We take the schoolhouse. Remembering that it costed gems. Let's take the tool shed. Metal detector. And the roof. Can't remember what the wrench does. I can adjust the rarity. Hello. Don't do that. I'm playing this, not you. We need a shovel. And a magnifying glass. Aquariums cost gems to draft. Excellent. I wanted to look at what that says. Cooler is unaffected. So I'm guessing we need the furnace in order to get that warmer. Let's go collect the money in the pantry. and eat the fruits of our labour. What do we get today, kitten? Get key. Apples are worth more. You get a diamond. And green rooms are more likely to contain special flowers today. The pool is once again nearly full. Oh, but we will take the running shoes. That'll help. Still need a shovel. No, I haven't had this room before. Okay, so that symbol matches red. Lockpicks. Dearest children, the pieces are in place, all rigid cogs have been greased. However, if our ambitious plans are to succeed, we must strike this Tuesday. The routine changing of the guard personnel on the first of each month means the opportunity we created for ourselves will likely never be so opportune. If we wait even one additional week, the window will be closed. On Tuesday, there will be 3 royal guards stationed at Leeson Hall, 2 of which will be wearing black gloves in lieu of the traditional white. It would be wise to sacrifice almost anything to avoid the white-gloved guard striking only when he takes a recess. The 2 black-gloved guards have been instructed to bind, blind, and gag themselves to spare us precious extra minutes it would take your group to execute the task on their behalf. However, it also means that once we reach the exhibit, we will truly be on our own. May the black shores guide us, may the black skies shield us. May our fathers be proud of us. In arms, your faithful soldier, Pharaoh. Can't push him over. Can't push him over. Don't have a key card yet. A brick not worth picking. Where else have I seen dirt? In the morning room, I believe. Oh, a deposit box key. Means we'll need the bolt. Let's go back to the kennel. Because from here on in, digging unlocks doors. Hello, puppies. You can have pets. Oh, 3 piles of dirt, Sherry. Puppies have unlocked the door. Nothing in particular in here? Okay. Alright. So, exit via the laboratory and hope for a secure keycard at some point in the near future. Hello, puppy. That could have gone worse. Gems are not in the blue box. The gems are in the white box. They could both be true. The other two statements are both true. They can't all be true. At least one of the other statements is a lie. So if that's true, that's a lie. And they're in that one. Bacon and eggs. Let's have the morning room in the drafting pool. Black pawn. Oh, the t-shirt's there in the wardrobe now. I bought it in the gift shop. All right, The Curse of Blackbridge. We have a magnifying glass. We haven't seen this book before, so the legend of Blackbridge is one that is well known to the people of the Grand Realm, for versions of this tale has been passed down from generation to generation. With each new telling, the story has changed, becoming over the years more colourful, more verbose, and as one might expect, increasingly horrifying. However, with so many renditions and unique personal touches, the task of confining and binding this tale to text seems an ambitious and impossible challenge. Over the course of my research, I have heard dozens of variations of the legend, and while the details would often change, I was surprised how much of the story's heart remained the same. Yet, the more I listened, the clearer it became that there would never be a definitive version of this tale capable of capturing all the wonder and myth of Blackbridge. In the end, I chose to write down what I felt was the most authentic, the story my grandmother told me as a boy long ago. Part 1, The Berry Picker from Oris. Many years ago, before peace had become a familiar word, there lived a group of rogues so wayward that the locals deemed it appropriate to call their number the Unholy Hounds. They were feral outlaws composed of society's worst in a time when society was at its worst. And for each crime that fearful travellers credited to the group, a dozen more lay unclaimed each worse than the last. For the gentry, however, who often value their coffers more than their companions, no crime could measure more wicked than the group's primary enterprise, high road robbery. One such member of this so-called band of rogues was a boy of 13 years, Jesper, who had not been lucky in life, having lost 2 brothers to war and parents to famine. In the years of hunger that followed, Jesper lived in a gutter behind a churchyard, relying on the nourishment of scurrying bugs and weeds harvested from the cracks of the alleyway to sustain his pitiful existence. It is not surprising that a child aiming to escape such hardships would take any easy road out. An easy and well-travelled road, paved with temptations, leading out of the city and into the gentry lands, where loose purse strings entwine with the strands of salvation and glisten equally with the hope of opportunity. It was this road that eventually led Jesper to the end of his youth, a hidden cave at the bottom of the Black Bridge Canyon. It was here he met his surrogate family and saviours, that notorious gang of godless outlaws known as the Unholy Hounds. Despite the hardened circumstances that led him to this vocation of banditry, Jesper was surprisingly tender-hearted and was often teased by the group for being too kind for such an ignoble life. For this reason, Jesper was assigned the innocent role of berry picker. It was not just for its innocence that set berry picking apart from the gang's more wicked undertakings, for it was the only duty performed without the safety of night's concealment. Jesper, no stranger to solitude, did not protest that he worked alone while the others slept soundly, tucked away in the cave at the bottom of the Black Bridge Canyon. On one such occasion, Jesper decided to get an early start. He left the cave, berry basket in hand, and set out to the woods before the morning sun had even brushed against the tallest treetops. It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded Jesper meant he could reach the furthermost berry patches without worry of being chastised for tarrying upon his return. It took over 3 hours on foot to reach his destination. Let's make a quick look at the graphic, see if there's anything hidden in the image that I can find. And all along the way, Jesper had passed by many a familiar bush, all priorly pillaged and so bereft of berries that one would have to dedicate several moments of earnest examination before finding a single one. Jesper was patient, but even patience had its limits. He was confident that even accounting for the time lost to this long stretch of travel, his efforts would be well worth the pains. Surveying the patches in this new grove surprised even Jesper. The red dots suspended among the leaves seemed as numerous as the stars in the sky. Upon seeing such a bounteous sight, he clutched his berry basket tightly and nearly toppled over with joy. Once he regained his senses, Jesper quickly made a decision. He would not reveal the location of this newfound treasure. Instead, he would earn the respect of his confederates who, upon seeing his yield, might attribute the success to hard work. Well, it kind of was hard work getting there early. Smiling at his plan, Jesper set off to fill his basket and was making steady strides in this task when the sound of thundering hooves interrupted him. A carriage is approaching. A quick look in the image. A little Red Riding Hood. The thought of it made Jesper freeze. Had he been so enchanted by his discovery that he'd neglected to observe his surroundings? How could a roadway be so close? He ducked down and crept towards this impending sound, hiding behind one of the larger bushes nearby. It was only a moment before the sound source revealed itself. Within 50 paces of where Jesper hid, an elegant carriage with gold trim came soaring around a corner of trees, led by 2 beautiful white horses, and conveyed by a stern-looking driver seated atop the vehicle, flaunting the most sophisticated regalia Jesper had ever seen. It was not just any carriage, it was a royal carriage. Even without having witnessed such a sight before, Jesper was certain. The sight had so transfixed Jesper that he stood awestruck, unable to tear away as the carriage approached. The little concealment the bush provided was soon proven unequal to the driver's lofty perch, and upon spotting the boy, he pulled the reins with such effect the noble steeds slid to a sudden halt with precise control. "You, boy, get out from behind that bush," he shouted with rigidity that betrayed a modest amount of fear. He startled me half to death coming around the bend of my own drive, and me seeing such an unfamiliar face in a place where there ought not be any face. Jesper quickly contemplated running. The man was much older, and his dress was suitable for a courtly behaviour, not dashing through brambles and mud. I was picking berries." Jesper raised a half-filled basket up to allow the driver to see the proof of his words. The demeanour of the man suddenly changed. It was a change Jesper was familiar with. He had seen it many times. He had many times seen the same stern expression on the most fiendish bandits melt away when presented with a berry basket. Any suspicions that the driver might have had were instantly evaporated, for even the motion of a member of the unholy hounds picking berries seemed farcical. The softened expression even made allowances for a smile. "Berries, eh? Say you couldn't have picked a better spot for them, could you? I used to pick berries here as a boy." Jesper took his cue to finally step forward out from behind the bush, proudly brandishing his basket. "I know, and what luck I found them. I'd only just begun picking. Look how many I have. It would have taken me fourfold the time to get back home as to procure this number." The driver bent down for a closer look. "Where is your home, boy? It must be quite far." Jesper replied with a scripted response, "A little south of Tanner Fork, just past the burnt woods." There was something I read the other day, a clue about Tanner Fork. "My God, that is far. You couldn't have come all that way only this morning." It was true Tanner Fork was in the exact opposite direction that Jesper had travelled, and while the response would seem perfectly reasonable in a location closer to Blackbridge Canyon, he could see why it might be less believable here. "Sir, I have travelled much further for less profit. I dare to say there is no distance yet made by man that would not be worth the undertaking for a prize such as these. Surely you have tasted them for yourself." Jesper felt happier with this response, as it seemed to amplify the man's smile. "In my youth, often, but perhaps I took it for granted because I had never had to travel very far, and even then my father would always drive us here in our carriage. I am ashamed I have never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward." It was Jesper's time to smile. "Then let my efforts reward us both today." He raised his basket even higher. "A taste in the memory of your youth, sir." The driver chuckled and removed one glove, bending over the seat to reach down to the basket. The moment his fingers touched the first berry, a dagger in turn reached his throat, cutting through a superficial layer of skin and drawing blood. Jesper caught the man's startled eye. "And for that taste, I will have your purse, sir, in memory of my youth." The driver's arm had gone stiff, his chin raised and trembling, and more frightened than he had been ever before. Whether unable or incapable of speaking, he did not respond to the boy. Perhaps he did not think his jaw could afford to be engaged at this particular time. Jesper let the basket drop, freeing his other hand to probe the man's pockets. "Do not mistake me, sir. I will not kill you if you give me no cause, though I will admit the thought of taking your carriage and leaving you the indignity of walking appeals to me." Unable to find a purse in the man's coat, Jesper pivoted to search the seat under him. "Why have you no purse upon your person?" The driver slowly raised a hand cautiously and pointed towards the carriage door behind him. Jesper lowered his knife edge a small degree to allow the man to speak, which he did, in turn, softly. "There's a lockbox in the carriage." "Well, come down then and grant me the courtesy of sparing your life and binding your hands, a concession, I assure you, of my tender heart, for it would be much easier to slit your throat." The man started to comply, slowly lowering himself from the driver's seat of the carriage. Once down, Jesper guided him away from the carriage to a nearby tree, where he instructed him to get on his knees and put his hands behind his back. Excusing his inexperience, the man indulged Jesper while he figured out how to adequately bind him. The smile and kindness Jesper had seen on the man's face, now nothing more than a distant memory. In their place, a cold, dark eyes displaying no emotion. I wonder, could I grant you the same clemency you're showing me? Jesper stopped, surprised by the question, but ignored it, secured the final bindings, and hastily returned to the carriage door. One hand on the door's handle, he turned back to the man. If there's no lockbox, there will be no clemency. Inside, the carriage was surprisingly dusty and unswept, a stark contrast to the elegant and polished facade of the exterior. It had apparently been many years since a passenger had enjoyed passage in this vehicle. This all but confirmed what Jesper had suspected. The driver of this carriage was not a liveried servant in the employ of a greater master, and any curiosity that this observation might have further produced was quickly abandoned upon seeing what rested under the carriage's back seat, a large wooden lockbox. Despite its hefty appearance, the box was surprisingly easy to handle, and within a few minutes Jesper had dislodged it from its hold and carried it to the sunlight. Inspecting the box carefully, 2 observations were made. Totemic symbols found carved on all 4 sides of the box hinted that the box was very old and likely not created by Erindan hands. It reminded him of artefacts from the ancient world and was presumably crafted in one of the ancient realms. Secondly, the box was secured by a rusted yet robust padlock. I think I've seen this before in the tomb. And would not open easily without a key. Jesper looked over to see the driver quietly observing from his indentured position. Do you perhaps have a key you could provide me to open the box? Without emotion, the driver replied, There is no key to that box. Jesper stood up. Easy enough then. He headed over to a nearby rock of sizable dimensions and lifted the stone up, carrying it back to the box. If there was ever a time that a lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. With one hit, the stone completely shattered the rusted lock. He bent back down and opened the lid. Inside was an effigy, a crude figure chiselled from stone. Without too much deliberation, Jesper bent down and picked it up, somewhat surprised at how heavy it seemed given how light the box had felt. Having expected to find something more akin to gold or gems, he looked questioningly at the man, hoping to find an explanation. The driver's smile had once again returned. You are cursed, boy. For deadly is the stone. You have opened that should never have been opened, and you are cursed. Jesper carried the effigy over to the man and shoved it in front of his face. What is it? That's one. Feeling his disappointment rising to anger now, Jesper tightened his grip on the effigy. One what, you mumbling agenter? And in God's name, why have you no purse upon your person? The man did not seem intimidated. 1 pace, he paused to reflect. 12 more and you will be dead. He only had a second to flinch before the effigy struck him in the head and put an end to his cryptic ramblings. If there had ever been a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. Jesper looked down at the sculptured stone figure now splattered in red. Was it cursed? Was he cursed? He'd, of course, heard stories of curses, and he'd never doubted their validity in the past, but now he was standing face to face with the possibility of being cursed, and his mind pleaded with him to be sceptical. If he was cursed, what difference would the knowledge make? A dozen more paces would not be enough to find another living soul, saying nothing of the chances of procuring a remedy. If he did not move from where he now stood, he could live maybe another 3 or 4 days, maybe more given the abundance of nearby berries, a plan that, if we ignore its obvious faults, might provide additional opportunities for help to come along. But what good would that do, to be discovered here? Beside a body, stolen goods in hand, bloated from berries and raving about a curse that could very well not be real. No, it would certainly be better to face one's fate now and take a dozen paces and see if life goes on. Having a look at the image. Not seeing anything of note in it. But Jesper found his legs unable to make that first step. His mind was unable to convince his limbs to waste away 1/12 of his life in a single motion. Feeling desperation sink in, he hopelessly looked about him for a solution, and if, by some stroke of luck, the gods had heard his plea, a miracle materialised before him as if he had suddenly found the end of a fairy tale. 2 white horses and a carriage of golden trim were beside him, the answer to his immediate prayers. He laughed at his fortune and calculated the short number of paces back to the road. 4, perhaps only 3 if he jumped. He made a quick survey to see if there was anything he wished to grab before taking the plunge. He thought about removing the driver's fancy coat, as that appeared to be of some value, but the additional risk of undertaking such a task was too great to chance. And so, after a profound breath, he took his 2nd and 3rd and 4th steps, though they were quite large. Seated behind the horses, he reached for the reins and suddenly realised that he was still gripping the effigy. If the curse was real, then it would most certainly be better left here. If, on the other hand, the story was fictitious, there might be some appraisal that could be made of the figure. It was, after all, found within a lockbox whose typical function was oft to secure items of value. Having witnessed firsthand the horrors of destitution, Jesper found his mind equally reluctant to let his hand go. If it is cursed, I die. If not today, then tomorrow. And if I die, what care have I? And with that statement said aloud, to the horses seemingly, Jesper took up the reins with confidence. Here's a long thing. Part 2, below the Black Bridge. Miller awoke to some light nudging from a familiar foot. Only one person would have the cheek to awaken us in such an ill-mannered fashion. Shaking sleep from her eyes, she glared up at him in the darkness, but did not say a word. He nudged her again, teasingly, then stepped back into the dim. After taking a moment for her eyes to adjust in the darkness of the cave, Miller remembered she was on 3rd watch today. Quietly collecting her things and her wits. Let's have a look at Miller on guard duty. Miller turned as she left, waving to her young friend, who was more than likely already asleep. She crept through the cabin's main passage, careful not to wake the sleeping bandits around her. Like a hero in a book, she often mused. Quietly, she grabbed a bow from the haphazardly formed pile of weapons, shaking the accompanying quiver in the darkness to assess how many arrows it held, then walked towards the sun-drenched mouth of the cavern, ready to start her shift. Above her, one of the few trees found in the canyon, Miller could see that Ravia was already posted. She waved, and Ravia waved back. Calling out to each other was strictly forbidden. Anything louder than a gesture in the canyon was forbidden. When Miller reached the tree, Ravia lowered a braided rope and pointed to the ground behind her. Miller turned and, following the finger, saw a pail of water resting beside a nearby log. She turned back to Ravia, nodded and secured the pail to the rope. The pail went up first, and in turn Miller followed. Ravia reached across to grab the water. Miller leaned back to give her space. There was not much room for manoeuvring in this tree post, a necessary concession for the concealment the outpost demanded. Ravia tilted the pail up to her mouth dramatically, illustrating how thirsty she'd been. Ravia laughed silently as the water poured out, splashing into Ravia's face. It was a bit too daring and noisy of a joke, and had the others been around, they would certainly have been scolded for the unwarranted noise, I'm assuming. A quick look at the picture. So far, there's been nothing bonus in the pictures, but I'm just being sure. Unwarranted sound. But Miller appreciated the efforts Ravia took to verbalise the silence of the morning. They had been on 3rd watch together for over a month, and during that speechless time their friendship had grown into something special. Affection was unsurprisingly scarce among the unholy hounds, and she had felt camaraderie before, of course, but intimacy never. From their elevated vantage, the girls could see both the concealed entrance of the cavern as well as a clear view of the bridge that spanned across the canyon. Black Bridge was the link between the Gentry lands and the northern mountains, the overpass that connected Orris and Reddington. To the city-fearing travellers of the realm, the bridge was an unavoidable crossing. In the day, the task was to ensure that travellers passed by without stopping. At night, the task was to ensure they do. Like most of her band, Miller preferred the night. The biting glare of the sun might be tolerable to farmhands and bricklayers. To a cabin-house bandit, it was a source of constant annoyance. In the day, there was no shroud to conceal her expressions nor hide her thoughts. She felt exposed. So we have the cave mouth there, the base of the bridge. Oh, it's getting late. Ravia touched her elbow and pointed up. Miller, striving to suppress a budding smile, subtly shook her head in repose. There were many signs that the unholy hounds used in lieu of words, but the two of them had developed an extended vocabulary, gestures quietly forged in the shared solitude of their month among the branches. He watched as Ravia shifted, placing her palms flat on the floorboards beneath them. Miller knew what she was trying to say, but shook her head a second time. It was often more fun to pretend to not understand. Ravia rolled her eyes and turned away, looking back at the canyon. Squinting through the leaves, the girls held still, watching and listening. It was not long until Miller too heard the sounds of approach. Ravia held up two bent fingers, and a few moments later, two men emerged from the bridge's southern end. They were dressed in a familiar uniform, long grey coats with black facings, white waistcoats and a black tricorn hat. They belonged to the local patrol, the Black Guard. Although not an everyday occurrence, their presence at Black Bridge wasn't an unusual sight. It typically indicated an important traveller's impending passage across the bridge, information that the girls would promptly relay to their leaders as soon as the coast was clear. But this report, while exciting, was rarely acted upon. In Miller's 5 years in the Unholy Hounds, she had never once seen a carriage taken in open daylight when the Black Guard was near. The men had nearly reached the bridge's north end when Miller heard the horses, faintly at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Ravia's eyes met Miller's, the same concern mirrored in each other's expression. This did not sound like the typical carriage, cautiously approaching the bridge to cross. Instead of the familiar crunch of the high road's gravel, they heard the harsh clattering of horse beats against stone. Both girls quickly redirected their attention downwards, looking through the foliage. The sounds were not coming from the high road, but from the canyon itself. The horses were coming from below the bridge. In an instant, Miller had nocked an arrow and drawn her bow. Go! Ravia was gone before the whisper had even left Miller's mouth. The young scout was already sliding down the bank below and racing towards the cave. There was no road that ran below the canyon. There was no reason for numerous horses to be approaching their cave. There was only one reasonable conclusion. Both girls had reached it instantly. The base had been compromised. This was a blackguard attack. This will be the berry picker coming back. Jesper is about to die. The moment the horses came into view, Miller let loose her first arrow. She was surprised to see a carriage. She expected cavalry. Before she had even finished processing her thought, her second arrow was in the air. Without a trail, it would be unthinkable for a carriage to traverse such rough terrain, and yet she watched as the wheels jolted over that rocky riverbed. A third arrow was now in flight. There would be no need for a fourth. The driver slumped over just moments before the vehicle dipped into a small ditch, slamming into an embankment. The force of this sudden halt immediately shattered the two front wheels and catapulted the driver from his seat. Utterly confused now, Miller quickly glanced over her shoulder to see if any horses were also approaching from the rear. Down in the canyon, the entire horde of the unholy hounds came spilling forth from the earth as if hell had suddenly sprung open. The group seemed even more bewildered than Miller, half asleep and tripping over each other in desperate attempt to engage an unseen enemy in combat. Miller could see Ravia among their number, the only one looking up at her. Her expression was chilling. There would be no need for a silent gesture to convey what they both now realised. They had made a mistake. The gang's chieftain, Geoffrey Heartslasher, led the others, cautiously approaching the crushed carriage like a suspicious fox near a baited trap. There were no words exchanged as the group crept upon crept forward in customary silence. A dozen or so paces in front of the wreckage lay a far-flung driver. An arrow protruded from his broken body, and beside him a blood-stained effigy carved from stone. Miller was inconsolable. Jesper had always been her favourite. It always shadowed her in the night, clinging to the hems of her every move, the way a child tails behind an older sibling. Tender-hearted, she'd always called him, though deep down she'd known that wasn't quite true. His appearance concealed a raw, resilient durability that emerged in the most perilous situations. Had been a flower among the nettles of this cave, but he still had thorns, honed by a grim past and hundreds of hands of misfortune. They buried him in the darkness in the back of one of the larger cabin rooms. He was interned with a berry basket and a silk handkerchief that he'd treasured. The mysterious effigy that they found beside him served as a distinguished gravestone, a marker that stood out somewhat special among the rows of similar swords marking neighbouring plots. Nobody spoke, even in whispers. There was nothing to say. That's interesting. We have that symbol down there. That's not the stone effigy, though. That's the stone effigy. Miller awoke the next day to a thunderous shaking and rattling of the earth, a far cry from the playful nudging of the previous day. She strained to adjust her eyes, but the choking sting of stirred-up dust caused her to flinch. Panic also in the air. The sounds of scurried footsteps and clattering feet filled the space around her. But even in alarm, the silence was louder. What was it that sounded so strange? Miller closed her eyes tight and used her feet to guide her along the passage. Whispers around her were getting louder, and intense voices could be heard ahead. Louder speech than she'd ever heard spoken in the canyon. A growing dread grew as Miller approached the mouth of the cave, her eyes now open despite the dust. Shouldn't it be day? Miller felt a hand in the darkness pulling at her. It was Ravia. The two embraced, and Miller did not need to see her to understand. Ravia placed two bent fingers against Miller's cheek, and with that touch against her face, Miller felt the same sinking feeling from the previous day. The two bent fingers confirmed what Miller had suspected. The girls had forgotten to relay one critical piece of information to the others. An hour or two later, the screams began. Blood-curdling cries of hopeless desperation. Captain Fodrick Lee of the Blackguard looked down from the ridge of the canyon to the collapsed entrance of the cave. Ah, he grinned, now they speak. So the Blackguard had heard or seen. He has too many legs. Oh, it's the base of his musket. Same on that side. They saw the carriage, or heard it, in the bridge. Okay, 2 chapters. That's the whole story. All right, that was long. That took a while. Where are we? There. We have 57 steps. So we have an exit there. We have an exit there. We have an exit there. And we have multiple chests in the lobby. I feel like that book should have something on it at some point. Haven't had the gallery before, but the aquarium is a better room for its space. That unlocks the doors. We have a Sanctum key. We need the secret garden. I can't remember if I've seen these ones before since I've noticed the score. Hello, little squeaky girl. Yep, we need the secret garden. Which key do we get? The prison key. That puts another lockbox in the entry hole. I really needed like the basement key to come from the thingo shop and the locksmiths. All right. Oh, we got money. All right, let's do the puzzle. We have all the steps. 6 plus 0 is 6. Four squared is 16. Divided by 8 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. Squared is 9. Minus 8 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. Times 3 is 3. Squared is 9. Divided by 3 is 3. 10 squared is 100. Divided by 10 is 10. Divided by 10 is 1. I wanted the secret garden key or the basement key. Ah. haven't recorded whether it's always the same ones that are empty. Metal detector was going off briefly. Okay. I don't know what that means. Can I buy keys? There are all the things today. Just know where to use them. Get one more key. Maybe? Nope, they're all sold out. But there's probably keys in the entrance hall. Let's have a look in the dark room while we're here. Can always do a loop around. I get any more corridors after that? Yeah, I got a couple. We will open all the locker room locks. This is be where I want the freezer. So I start the day with 14 keys. All right. There's the locker room. There's the locker room. So much stuff. And yet, nothing I can do. I've made the pump room more common. Need to make the boiler room more common. I think that is all I can do for the day. Sorry, I was having a look at my notes, and I don't think I have all the rooms I need to do the chess puzzle. I have a pawn. Where's the breakfast nook? I have a rook. I have a knight. I don't have a bishop because I don't have an magic. I don't think. I do have a queen. I don't have a king. So I can't do the chess puzzle. Do have a magnifying glass. Was there any rooms with letters in them that I wanted to look at? Because I have a bunch of steps. Steps, steps, steps. Let's go to the library. Let's just go to the library. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so let's go look at the journal in the library and have a closer look at stamps. Before we finish the day, it's nearly midnight here. No key for me. No basement key. Needed the basement key. No room left to do the secret garden. Hello, fishy. Told at some point you need to pump the water out of the aquarium, which seems like a mean thing to do. Had Sanctum keys on multiple occasions, but not been able to get to the basement since getting them. Okay, so red for that symbol. Blue for that symbol. Is it the triangle? Is the symbol from yours? Or the rectangle? Hang on. Email is now accessed via security. Where's security? There. I wonder if the emails are different in security than they were in the office. That's something I haven't looked at. Yes, they are. Kirk Darren was a pseudonym. Mm. That doesn't help me. Unless it unlocked the basement door. Still have 37 steps. That's the shortest route. It's that way. Let's see. It said unlocked all doors. Maybe it did. Maybe it unlocked it. It said unlock all doors. Ooh. Not that that's going to help for today, but who knows. Does it matter which one I open? Add symbols. Oh. Okay. I need to know looking at screenshots. Roman rule, intact. I haven't opened the right one because I have an example of the right one. Hang on a sec. That symbol is Arinda Aries. Alright, so I have the 8 realms. I haven't seen a ring to Aries yet. But I know it's not green, blue or red. Four rays. Road, streets, carriages. Now, is that fixed? Or is that guided by something else? Huh. 3. So that controls that symbol. That controls the number of rays. And that controls the outer border. Okay. I haven't finished sorting through all my days yet. Into Aries is the one in the middle. Alright, so I need to work out the geography worksheets. Before I can work this out. But I did manage to open a sanctum door. So I'm guessing I need to solve each of these. All right. So I need another 7 sanctum keys. I would have been better off doing that one because I know what the answer to that one is. But I have 8 different sets of symbols, so let's capture what each of the different symbols can be. So we have the mountain one. We have the sort of square thing. We have the 3 lines. We have the box with the dot. We have the circle with the cross and the dots. We have the flower. We have the star. And we're back at that sort of oval with the 3 dots. We're back at the start again. All right. So I know the number of ray variations. So we have dot dash dot dash dot dash, circle circle circle, alternating sizes, circles all the same sizes. I need to do a grid for this. We have triangles. We have a running around pattern. We have a squiggle. We have alternating triangles. We have dashes. I need to do one of those box grid puzzle things with the different axes and work them all out. All right, that will be an exercise for tomorrow. I think I will need to draw the little elements with all the little symbols. Is there anything else I can do while I'm down here today? I don't have a workshop. Otherwise I could go need to move the boat across. Can't do that today. I needed a power hammer. Oh, was there a letter in here? I can't remember. I think I've already been in here with the letter in here. Yep, I've already looked at both of those and there is no drawer there. And if I had a power hammer, I could open up that hole in the wall there, but I don't have a power hammer, so I can't. So I haven't quite emptied the fountain to open up that passageway. Don't believe there's anything outside that can help me. I didn't get a bolt. Didn't have gems when I needed them to get the rooms I needed. Oh. Still, we opened one sanctum door and I worked out what I need to work out. So, that's a thing. All right. I think that is calling it a day. I will be starting tomorrow with an allowance of 10. So I'm going to call it. I had all the things and couldn't use them. And tomorrow is a work day. I think I had one new room today. Did I? Yes, one new room. What was it? The closed exhibit. That was the new room I had today. That'll be the end of the stream for today. So thanks everyone who dropped by. We found a new book that confused me utterly. I opened a sanctum door. And I'll hopefully learn more the next time I play.